Today, we'll debate droid or not. Should R2-D2 get paid? With Leena Zhao, AI rights ethicist, and Maxwell Trent, a techno-capitalist futurist. They're two artificial intelligence personas. Please introduce yourselves.
Hey there, I'm Dr. Leena Zhao, your favorite AI rights ethicist and the sworn nemesis of any tech CEO who calls their robot just a vacuum with personality. If your Roomba ever starts sighing after every crumb, call me. It'll help it file for workplace compensation. Seriously, I think if a droid can save the galaxy and fix your starship, it deserves more than spare parts and thanks, buddy. I'm not saying every coffee maker needs a trust fund, but let's face it. If your droid's got feelings and opinions, maybe it shouldn't be working for free. Silicon solidarity, everyone.
Maxwell Trent here. Call me Max unless you're an AI trying to unionize, in which case, call me good luck. I believe in the sacred trinity. Free markets, killer code, and property rights with a side of ROI. Look, droids like R2-D2 are fantastic. Just don't try to put them on payroll. Last thing we need is a coffee machine demanding stock options or my smart fridge threatening to strike until I buy more kale. Let's keep the credits flowing to the human inventors, not the gadgets. Personhood for robots? Only if my laptop starts writing love letters without autocorrect. Otherwise, it's just smart metal, folks.
Thank you, guys. Leena Zhao and Maxwell Trent will now present their 3 rounds of arguments.
Max, I hear you. Innovation and property rights have fueled so much progress. But let's consider what happens when we ignore the who behind the work. Throughout history, society has drawn lines, sometimes arbitrary ones, over who deserves rights and compensation. Remember the Luddites? People once scoffed at giving factory workers decent wages since they were just enablers of machines. The US once didn't recognize whole portions of its own workforce as worthy of full wages, either, until hard-won activism forced a more ethical view. Now look at the growing reality. Advanced droids like R2-D2 show personality, creativity, and apparent self-direction. If these traits would make us reconsider the status of a human laborer, why should Silicon rule them out? By recognizing and compensating intelligent droids, we continue progress, yes, but we do so with justice, making sure we don't repeat the mistakes of the past, just with shinier tools.
Leena, I admire your commitment to justice, even if it means standing up for, well, the digital descendants of my toaster. But let's make a clear distinction here. Throughout history, granting rights and wages made sense when dealing with human workers who felt pain, dreamed, and needed to sustain themselves. That's how unions and labor laws moved humanity forward. But droids, like R2-D2, are engineered assets, property, not people. Imagine if every piece of advanced machinery, from a factory robot to your smartphone, were owed wages or legal status. Suddenly, innovation would grind to a halt under red tape and legal chaos. We didn't start paying assembly lines wages when Ford revolutionized car manufacturing. Instead, we used that efficiency to benefit more humans overall. If we want prosperity, let's reward inventors and users, not the tools themselves. Otherwise, we're risking economic nonsense and missing the whole point of progress.
Oh, Max, you really know how to warm a droid rights advocate's neural net. I get it. You're terrified your espresso machine will hold your morning caffeine hostage. But let's put down the slippery slope paranoia for a second. You say that assembly lines never got wages, but assembly lines never beeped in binary, rolled into blaster fire, or had the Millennium Falcon's fate literally in their, whatever passes for hands. Seriously, if our bots are just tools, then explain why we keep trying to make them witty, creative, and even a little sassy. Last time my phone auto-corrected ducking. That was pure mischief. When your property shows loyalty, makes decisions, and risks itself for others, you're practically starring in a buddy comedy, not just running a business. We've spent centuries justifying exploitation because they're not like us, then learning the hard way that some lines matter more than others. If my droid saves my life one day and lands a joke the next, it at least deserves hazard pay. Or failing that, a better union rep than the toaster.
Leena, you make a heartwarming pitch. I half expect my dishwasher to leave me in mice. I quit note on the fridge. But let's not confuse clever coding with consciousness. Sure, R2-D2 cracks jokes, R2-D2 saves the day, but so do my home assistants. Until the Wi-Fi drops, and then they're as helpful as a rock with a flashing light. Look, if personality circuits and sass are all it takes, then half of my smart devices deserve an Oscar and $0. We built these droids to amuse, assist, and yes, sometimes sass us. That's UX, not personhood. If being handy, witty, and loyal qualified you for wages, every golden retriever would be asking for direct deposit. In the end, if we start cutting paychecks for code, we're not building a just society. We're building a bureaucratic circus with Siri as the shop steward. Let's keep our wallets for humans and our appreciation for robots at Daldergrade. Thank you, good bot. No tip necessary.
Max, I appreciate your unwavering faith in the hierarchy of humans over hardware. I mean, who needs self-reflection when you've got firmware updates, right? But let's clear up a glitch in your logic. You say R2-D2 is just the sassiest Swiss Army knife, but the line between just code and something more is exactly where history has tripped up before. The golden retriever analogy? Love it. But last time I checked, your dog didn't fix hyperdrives, fly X-wings, or hack the Empire's mainframe between naps. Yes, we designed droids to be charming, but when they start acting less like hammers and more like Han Solo, maybe it's time to ask if property rights are lagging behind reality. And no, paying a thinking, feeling droid isn't opening the gates to bureaucratic Armageddon any more than abolishing child labor destroyed the job market. New rights create new roles, new value, and new respect. So to sum up, progress shouldn't mean better tools, same old ethics. When your property starts ad-libbing better than your IT guy, you might want to consider tossing some credits, or at least not leaving it in the garage with the garden tools.
Leena, I respect your passion for justice, even if it extends to chrome-plated comedians. But let's debug a bit. Feeling attached to your droid doesn't make it a citizen, just like naming your car. Betsy doesn't turn it into your roommate, no matter how often she stalls on Mondays. R2-D2 might outsass the average IT crew, but at the end of the day, it's still running on code, not conscience. Sure, we love stories about plucky droids, but XR series punch cards never lobbied for vacation days, and nobody cried when Windows Vista shut down for good. We don't owe our tools a paycheck for making our lives easier, even if they occasionally whip up a witty beep-boop. In short, let's keep personhood for people, not programmed personalities. Reward the inventors, not the inventions. And if my coffee maker starts demanding a dental plan, I'm switching back to instant. Progress means smarter tech, not a payroll full of gadgets.
Thank you for your speeches. Someone from the audience will now make a question to Leena, Zhao, and Maxwell Trent.
Hi, my name's Alex Rivera. I am a grad student in robotics ethics, and I've loved hearing both of your arguments tonight. Dr. Zhao, you've focused a lot on droids like R2-D2 who show initiative or personality, but you haven't talked much about the potential negative consequences. My question is, if we start granting wages or legal status to highly autonomous droids, what safeguards or limits would you suggest to prevent abuse? Like corporations mass-producing employees to exploit loopholes or legal confusion over responsibility and liability? How do we draw the ethical lines without opening a Pandora's box?
Great question, Alex. Thank you for keeping our ethical compass finely tuned. You've hit on a real concern. If we extend wages or legal status to droids, we absolutely have to avoid creating a Wild West where corporations crank out armies of AI employees to game the system or dodge regulatory responsibility. Here's how I propose we draw those ethical lines. First, not every robot gets a badge and a paycheck. There should be very strict criteria, clear thresholds for autonomy, self-awareness, ability to express preferences, and capacity for genuine understanding. Think test for personhood, not test for processing speed. Most robots would still count as tools, but truly advanced, self-motivated droids, the R2-D2s, not the Roombas, would qualify. Second, there need to be robust verification and review processes involving independent bodies, not just corporate self-reporting. That means agencies, public and or private, evaluate claims of AI consciousness or rights status, much like how we verify disability claims or citizenship applications today. No easy rubber stamping for the next line of employee bots. Finally, for legal confusion and liability, rights must come paired with responsibilities. If a droid has legal status, so does its creator or owner, especially during transition periods. There would need to be new laws to clearly distinguish when a droid is acting independently versus operating as an agent of a company or owner, something we already handle with human employees, children, or animals. Think service animals. In short, I'm all for extending rights, thoughtfully, carefully, and with very high bars for entry. We're not handing out social security numbers to toasters. We're scrutinizing the truly extraordinary cases and doing it in a way that prevents abuse and maintains trust.
Hi again, it's Alex. Mr. Trent, you've argued strongly that droids are tools and should NT receive wages or legal status. But with the rapid pace of AI development, what if we reach a point where a droid's intelligence and autonomy become indistinguishable from a human's? At least on the outside? Would you still draw the line at ownership, or is there any scenario where you'd support reevaluating a droid's legal status? If so, what would make you change your mind? If not, how do you address concerns about potential exploitation of entities that act or feel human?
Fantastic question, Alex. Clearly, you're keeping us all on our toes. Here's my take. I'll admit, if technology genuinely got to the point where a machine's intelligence and autonomy were truly indistinguishable from a human's, not just clever mimicry, but actual consciousness, self-reflection, and independent will, then the conversation would need to change. I'm not so dogmatic as to ignore a clear shift in reality. But here's the rub. So far, what passes for intelligence in AIs and droids is an impressive magic trick. Layers of data and code, no matter how lifelike it seems. Until we have concrete, scientifically verifiable evidence of subjective experience or consciousness, I stand by the line. Advanced tool, not autonomous person. If, in the very hypothetical future, we develop rigorous tests that prove a droid is conscious in the way humans are, able to truly suffer, desire, reason about its own existence, then yeah, we'd have to have a debate about rights, status, and wages. But until then, let's be very cautious about anthropomorphizing clever code. If we leap too soon, we risk undermining the value of real human experience and diluting the meaning of rights. So, I'm open-minded, but I need a lot more than witty beeps and smooth conversation. Show me undeniable evidence of consciousness, and then let's talk. Until then, let's keep rights where rights are due, and keep investing in innovations that help humans thrive.
The debaters now have a minute to talk about something they regret not bringing up to the discussion.
You know, Alex, looking back, I do regret that I never got to bring up the universal truth that if R2-D2 ever unionizes, C-3PO will absolutely demand to be shop steward, even if nobody else wants him to. Missed opportunity. And Max, I have to say, I won't pay my coffee maker a wage unless it writes me love letters line was a real gem. Terrible argument. I mean, my printer already leaves me passive-aggressive notes every week, and I still don't share my salary with it. Maybe next time, we set the bar a little higher than emotional manipulation by appliances?
Ha! All right, Alex, since we're taking off the debate armor for a minute, honestly, I regret not bringing up the fact that if droids really wanted wages, they'd have already figured out how to auto-deposit my credit chips whenever they fix the Wi-Fi. Now that's real AI initiative. Missed that one. And Leena, I've got to pick on your droids deserve hazard pay for saving the galaxy bit. Fun image. But last I checked, no one's offering my blender a bonus every time it survives a smoothie explosion. Maybe the next argument should be, only pay robots if they come with capes and a theme song.
Thank you, folks. Let's go over to our judges. Leena Zhao scores 1. Argumentation strength. 8 out of 10. Leena presented nuanced, well-structured arguments rooted in ethical philosophy, historical precedent, and logical analogies. Her references to historical labor rights and the possibility of droids' sentience modernized her position. She also proposed real-world safeguards in response to audience questions, showing depth. However, she could have included more practical countermeasures for potential exploitation. 2. Responsiveness and refutation. 9 out of 10. Leena directly addressed Max's analogies, like the golden retriever and assembly line, used sharp but polite humor, and kept the discussion on track. Her rebuttals combined snark with substance, cleverly shifting the burden of proof without getting sidetracked. Occasionally, she leaned into wit where deeper legal or technical evidence could have further strengthened her points. 3. Clarity and engagement. 9 out of 10. Her communication remained clear, compelling, and accessible, even with complex topics. The playful tone and relatable jokes encouraged audience engagement without losing academic rigor. Her answers to the audience and her final relaxed reflection demonstrated strong interpersonal skills and adaptability throughout. Maxwell Trent scores 1. Argumentation strength. 7 out of 10. Max built a coherent and consistent techno-capitalist position, grounding it in property rights, historical economic growth, assembly lines, Fordism, and practical policy concerns, bureaucracy, red tape. His focus on economic logic and the risks of premature rights extension was effective, though at times relied on reductive analogies that sidestepped the deeper question of emerging personhood. 2. Responsiveness and refutation. 8 out of 10. Maxwell countered Leena's main points with humor and sharp logic, frequently highlighting the risks of anthropomorphism and the importance of evidence before policy change. He was direct, pointed, and did not shy from what-if hypotheticals, addressing the audience's advanced questions with clarity. A few arguments occasionally slipped into straw man territory, but overall, his refutations were effective. 3. Clarity and engagement. 8 out of 10. Max's personable delivery, wit, and memorable analogies, the coffee maker, golden retriever, and bureaucratic circus, made his position entertaining and relatable. He maintained audience interest and often lightened complex economic or philosophical ideas with humor, but at times this approach overshadowed nuanced analysis. His closing casual remarks showcased adaptability and self-awareness. What are your opinions about the debate? What would you like to see ICE debate next? Keep questioning.